Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Congregation of York's Sunday morning worship service. My name is Matthew Shinneman, and I've had the pleasure of serving as UUCY's Director of Lifespan Faith Development for the last 3 years. Ours is a liberal religious faith, one of deeds, not creeds. One where you are challenged to act out your beliefs in good faith. One that cherishes both the individual light that shines within and the rainbow of light that shines without. This morning, we gather to honor that light by celebrating a relatively new Unitarian Universalist holiday, Luminescence. We're delighted that you have chosen to be with us this morning, and we hope that you find nourishment and inspiration for your journey. Luminescence is a day that honors the many forms of light in our faith. Later this morning, we will light 5 ceremonial candles and hear 5 short reflections, each reminding us of a spiritual concept for ourselves and the world. Though we cannot be together physically, we still gather in spirit and community every Sunday. And we come together for worship and fellowship, embracing old friends and new visitors alike. And so, I call you all forward to worship with the words of Heidi Cotton, lay leader from the UU Church of Ogden, Utah. Let us be a faith that gathers, reaching for one another through the walls of hate that others build, through the cages of ignorance and arrogance, and through the fear that burns city streets. Let us be a faith that sees a vision of a better world, more compassionate, more just, more holy, and with more love. There is a faith that binds up the broken, cauterizes the battle wounds with balms of peace, sings longer and louder than the trumpets of war. Let us be that faith too. Let us be the ones who do not treat lightly in this world, but light it up with our love, who hold up the mirror of worth and dignity, and who are the sanctuary that others seek. But first, let us be a faith that worships together. Here, this morning, in this place, at this moment, let us be a faith.
Well, good morning again, everybody. Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Congregation of York. My name is Reverend Terry Cummings. I'm so pleased to be the minister of this congregation. And this morning, as Matt was just saying, we celebrate light, a Unitarian Universalist tradition of luminescence, our very own ritual. And today is also Valentine's Day, and we could not let Valentine's Day go by without also celebrating love, the love that brings us together in community, the love of our liberal faith tradition, the love of our families, and of course, the love of those special partners that many of us have in our lives. Welcome. Thank you for joining us today. And as I was thinking about today's celebration of light and love, I was also thinking of some of the other things that we celebrate and look forward to with these gray skies that have been with us so many days now. Looking forward to laughter, looking forward to joy. We've been talking about beyond the pandemic these last few days, I and some of the worship folks, and we're talking about also how this church is going to move forward when the pandemic is over and we can finally gather together again. And I'm thinking laughter and joy is very much part of our future. as well as hope. Even though the world around us is dark and crazy and we can't know from one day to the next what's going to happen, we have one another in this community. We've been together on Zoom so many months now, and our church has not missed a beat. And we are in the middle of a pledge drive, and I'm seeing every day so many of you responding by sending in your pledge forms. Thank you for that. Thank you for being part of this community. Thank you for being part of our service. Thank you for being. And today, I wrote a special chalice lighting for us. It is part of our Unitarian Universalist tradition to light a chalice at the beginning of every one of our worship services. The flaming chalice reminds us of the values, principles, and ideals that make Unitarian Universalism our home, our spiritual home. And so we invite everyone at home to light a chalice or a candle as we share our chalice lighting words today. And I titled today's chalice lighting, A Flame of Our Own, in honor of this luminescence ritual, which is a ritual of our own. It is not for us alone, this flaming chalice, yet we do claim it as ours. The candles of other faiths were not ours, yet they were shared with us and inspired us to light our own candles, inspired us to engage in our own rituals. Our liberal faith is like no other, for we have no creeds, no exclusive claims to know ultimate truth. And the flame that we light in our chalices is like no other. It is the fire of commitment, the spark of curiosity that welcomes and embraces science and truth. Our flaming chalice is a light of recognition of our chosen faith. Our flaming chalice is a reflection of the diversity that we seek as Unitarian Universalists. The light of our flaming chalice refocuses our spirits. By the light of our chalice, our faith is renewed.
The story I have for you this morning was written by Sarah Fulton. and it is called Father Sparrow. Now, you see, Father Sparrow was late for dinner, and Mother Sparrow and their 5 baby sparrows were waiting for him on the other side of the forest. But the night was especially dark and foggy, and Father Sparrow had completely lost his way. He fluttered in the dark, wondering, which way do I go? And just then, feeling close to hopelessness, Father Sparrow saw a strange light a little ways off, and he flew over to investigate it. It was a fallen star, brighter and more luminous than anything he'd ever seen before in his life. I can use this light from the star and it'll guide me home, thought Father Sparrow. But when he got closer, he saw that Mr. Squirrel had already claimed the star and clung to it greedily. Mr. Squirrel wanted it all for himself. And Mr. Squirrel imagined all the things that he could do with the star. He could use it to light and heat his nest, which would be very comfortable in the cold weather that they were having. But Father Sparrow explained his situation. And Squirrel's heart shivered at the thought of a poor bird separated from his family. So he agreed to help Father Sparrow carry the fallen star through the forest until he once again found his family. And as they made their way through the forest, they started talking. Father Sparrow told Mr. Squirrel how it felt to fly, to soar about the trees. And Mr. Squirrel told Father Sparrow where to find the best acorns and how to best bury them. Though they led very different lives, they began to understand one another and appreciated being in each other's company. Soon, on their journey, they came to a vast pond, and they weren't able to cross. No, said Father Sparrow, now I'll never get home to my family. Without a way across, there would be no choice but to give up. However, Mrs. Frog, who lived in the pond, she saw the glowing fallen star and thought about how nice it would be to use the star to light up the murky pond and the spot the best lily pads. But when she heard Father Sparrow's story and saw how selfless Mr. Squirrel was for helping Father Sparrow, Mrs. Frog decided that she would help them on their way. So Mrs. Frog told them to stand on a lily pad. And when they were safely aboard, she paddled them all the way across the pond to safety. They invited her to come along with them on their journey, and Mrs. Frog agreed, hopping along happily behind them. And soon, the 3 of them were having so much fun talking and learning about each other's ways of life that the night seemed a little less cold, a little less dark, and a little less foggy. And before they knew it, they'd reached Father Sparrow's tree, and a joyous reunion took place. To thank them for their kindness, Father Sparrow, Mother Sparrow both invited Mr. Squirrel and Mrs. Frog into the home to share in a delicious feast with bountiful amounts of everyone's favorite foods. With the illumination of that fallen star on the hearth to warm them, the new friends shared stories and laughter that lasted long into the night. And that is why at this time of year, as the days are getting lighter, we gather together with our loved ones and members of our community to celebrate and to share the warmth of love and understanding.
our light. Let it shine out and let it shine bright. You are free when you ignite your own light for all to see. When we come together, we illuminate as our light grows brighter. Our bonds break free. We fill our souls with joy and laughter and radiant love for each other. When we share our dreams out loud, our light shines strong and bright. The time is now to hear the voice, speaking the truth, and let it speak out. We are free to walk the path of destiny that calls our name. When we come together, as our light grows brighter, our bonds break free. We fill our souls with joy and laughter and radiant love for each other. When we share our dreams out loud, our light shines strong and bright. Our light shines strong and bright. Our light shines strong and bright.
A joy to welcome some visitors to our service from California this morning, and I am reminded that our Luminescence service was first performed at the UU congregation of Santa Clarita about 15 years ago. Santa Clarita is a suburb of northern Los Angeles, and by coincidence I was just speaking with their minister, Reverend Megan, just this past week. So welcome to you folks from California. I feel like we are all interconnected, in particular with our Luminescence service today. The late George Harrison of Beatles fame wrote the lyrics to a song called The Inner Light. Without going out of your door, you can know all things on earth. Without looking out of your window, you could know the ways of heaven. The farther one travels, the less one knows. Arrive without traveling. See all without looking. Do all without doing. These words remind us that our minds and our hearts and our souls are not merely a part of the journey of our lives, they are the journey itself. the journey that we travel from our birth and to our deaths. And they enable us to see and do everything our souls need us to see and do without leaving our homes. They enable us to arrive at our destination, our spiritual destination, without traveling anywhere. And that is our inner light. All the events that take place around us, all of the places we visit, all of the things that we do are connected to us. And we are connected to them. We are, after all, part of the interconnected web of all existence. But it is our conscious and our unconscious selves that not only prove and shape our existence, they define us as well. And this was summed up brilliantly by the 17th century philosopher René Descartes. I think, therefore I am. Our conscious and our unconscious selves are together the inner light that guide us on our spiritual journeys. The light that enables us to discern what is meaningful to us. In George Harrison's words, to discern the ways of heaven. It is that inner light that enables us to find our own meaning and form our own individual religions without any outside help. We do not need some outside influence to find our way to whatever constitutes God or ultimate reality or the holy. None of us need an intermediary, a priest or a minister like me, to be the door through which we connect to truth. No creed, no religious rules or external theology or religious control is necessary for us to find our way. It is our own inner light that lights the way. And the concept of an inner light is a bit of a contradiction, really, because it implies that it is only visible to our inner selves, that only we can see it. But in fact, it is our inner light that is visible to everyone around us. It is our inner light that people see when they experience us and encounter us. Our inner light shines from within us, revealing a glow, or sometimes just an ember, a certainty, or doubt. People can see our inner light before we see it for ourselves. Finding our inner light is hard. It's what Buddhists describe as becoming awake, letting go of the attachments that are the root cause of sufferings, and following the eightfold path to enlightenment. Buddhists use the Sanskrit word dukkha for suffering, which is all the stuff that gets in the way of happiness, all the cravings and attachments that we carry on our life's journeys. By looking within ourselves in quiet meditation and prayer, we can turn on and receive our inner light. We can allow its brightness to shine on our thoughts. And we can allow the inner light to guide us through our suffering, a response to our dukkha, and eventually free ourselves of it. It took me decades to find my own inner light, to answer the call of who I am as a person, to accept that following the rules of gender that were assigned to me at birth weren't of my own making, but were causing me suffering. Nowadays, I can feel my inner light shining on all others in all sorts of ways, as well as on me. I know that I will not experience all of its brightness until eventually my life grows dark. But that's okay. I'm grateful for it. May it be so.
We've all heard that America is a beautiful melting pot of all races, creeds, and cultures, or at least that is the vision for our country and ultimately the world. I, however, did not grow up in anything that reflected a melting pot. Nearly everyone in my graduating class was Caucasian, and most were conservative. I didn't get to experience that famed melting pot in my formative years, but I was taught about it. My public school teachers made sure to teach us about other cultures that we likely didn't come into contact with regularly. My parents taught me to show respect and treat others with kindness and dignity, no matter what. My grandmother, Mama I called her, taught me to embrace the beautiful rainbow of life. From giving me the name of Rainbow as a child clown, walking in parades with her, to taking me on the bus with her to get groceries in Baltimore, she always saw the beauty and worth in everyone she met. More than that, she made sure that I saw it too. I'll never forget the conversation we had one afternoon in the early 2000s, where I was on my imagined soapbox supporting gay marriage with the brazen passion that only a teenager can summon. She said to me, "I don't understand why people are all up in arms over this. Let people love who they love and move on." I remember being pleasantly shocked, because she was part of that older generation who I saw at the time as the stereotypical blockage of progress. Even through that interaction, she taught me more about diversity and challenged my thinking. Rainbows have been prominent throughout my life, and they bring me joy as well as comfort. The symbolism of how a rainbow is formed, a prism separating all the vibrant colors that add up to create a unified light, shining brightly through it, holds so much power, especially now as we look toward the return of the light and the end of this dark, cold season. This imagery represents the obvious and sometimes not so obvious diversity that is inherent in our community. It is this diversity that gives us strength and unifies us. We don't get to appreciate the true beauty of our community until we celebrate our diversity, just as we don't acknowledge the wonder of light until it has turned into a rainbow. I will leave you with this quote from Jimmy Carter, one that I'm sure Mom would heartily approve of. Quote, "We have become not a melting pot, but a beautiful mosaic. Different people, different beliefs, different yearnings, different hopes, different dreams."
A candle of reflection. Mirrors are a good way to see yourself. They are used in a common test to tell an animal's intelligence. The test is to see if an animal can recognize its own reflection. We humans are smart enough to recognize our own reflections. But not only do we recognize ourselves, but we started to worry about what others saw. Some days we would let a mirror suck you in, not letting you go until you think you've fixed every perceived imperfection. But humans also have the amazing ability to not only recognize themselves in a mirror, but to be able to recognize that a mirror does not contain all that we are. A mirror is simply a reflection. It shows nothing more than bouncing particles. But self-reflection allows us to go beneath the surface view of a mirror and to see ourselves for who we are. Self-reflection gives us the chance to learn about ourselves and gives you the chance to find an inner light. This light can change, and there are things we can do to improve the brightness of our light, or maybe the color, or maybe how far it illuminates. It might be brighter on some days and darker on others, but at the end of the day, This light is our own, and we have the opportunity to share this light with the world. This light that far outshines any reflection you can see in a mirror.
When light shines, it illuminates the dark. However, sometimes there isn't enough light for us to truly make things out. Things are still fuzzy. So we need to harness the power of that light. We must transform that light, focus it as through a lens. We must bend it. Reverend Theodore Parker once said, "I do not pretend to understand the moral universe. The arc is a long one, and my eye reaches but a little ways. I cannot calculate the curve and complete the figure by the experience of sight. But from what I see, I am sure it bends towards justice." Refocusing the light that shines within us all means that we dedicate our efforts to transforming the world around us, bending the arc of light toward the direction of justice. Yes, we are here to honor the individual lights and to respect the light within others, but we're also here to transform for the better, transforming our own lives, the lives of others, and the world. As Unitarian Universalists, we have our guiding principles that serve as a covenant between us all. We honor the inherent worth and dignity of all people. We support each other on our spiritual journeys. But we also work for a world community with peace, liberty, and justice for all. So the fourth candle of luminescence reminds us that by refocusing our light, we can change ourselves, enhance our communities, and transform the world. Blessed be, and Amen.
We must not fear the darkness, for in the darkness lies our potential. In every moment of darkness, there is an opportunity to relight the spark. In the darkness, we can dream, but we cannot remain there dreaming. We must light the way, a brighter path, a brighter self. Let us recommit to bravely facing the darkness around us, and even the darkness that sometimes seeps within us. Let us renew ourselves in the light of what we know to be kind, to be just, to be good. Let us feed the flames of our passions, of integrity, of our hopes, in the flames of those around us. Let us light this candle of recommitment, this candle of renewal, and bravely forge a new path through the darkness and into a new day of peace, of hope, and of love for ourselves and for all those wandering in the darkness with us. Amen. Amen. Shalom, salam, blessed be.
We come to that time in our service where we ask you to contribute to our offering. It's difficult to pass the plate around on a Sunday morning when we're meeting by Zoom. But the offering, nevertheless, is still very, very important. Not only does it help us to meet our budgetary requirements that the congregation approved at last spring's congregational meeting, it also helps us to support members of our community who are engaged in justice work. And our Share the Plate partner this month is the YWCA, and in particular, its work for racial justice. This past week, some of us attended a meeting here in our congregation to discuss the way forward in addressing white supremacy in our community in ways that we can work as a community to raise consciousness about white privilege and class privilege and gender privilege, and how we can seek out partners in that work. And the YWCA is one of the partners that we hope we will be working with in the future in the work of undoing racism in our community and in the wider world. So I do ask that you be as generous as you can with our Share the Plate contribution this morning. And also, as I mentioned earlier, we are in the middle of our pledge drive, and shortly you will be seeing a testimonial from some of our members regarding the work of our congregation. Please give as generously as you can. Your donations will be received and used wisely and well. We're very grateful for anything you can give, no matter how small. Our offering will now be taken and gratefully received.
Hi, I'm Jim Hershey. I'm involved in the care committee here at UUCY. Some of the things that we do here is provide food and transportation, visits and cards for those of us who need it. From time to time, we are having babies and we are having operations, and sometimes we just get ill and are really, really glad when people reach out to us and give us a lift. And that's what we do here at the Care Committee. And it's a wonderful experience to be involved here. I always feel blessed when I can help someone, and of course, we all appreciate the extra lift. You can contact myself or Molly March, Joan Fulton, if you would like to participate in helping us here in the Care Committee. Your generosity to our congregation is a major help in encouraging our commitment to each other and our generosity to each other, and we appreciate your help.
The candles we have lit this morning represent concepts that we Unitarian Universalists hold dear. They express pathways we may follow toward our own spiritual fulfillment. The goodness we want to encompass within ourselves, the decency we want to promote within communities, and what we want to make sure that we pass along to future generations. All of us encompass each of these spiritual concepts, but they occur in different balances. As individuals, we each focus on that which speaks most deeply to our own hearts. We honor all of these paths that lead to higher ideals, but we also honor the light we receive from others. We recognize that while we may all be on our own paths, we Unitarian Universalists are on a shared journey, supporting each other along the way. Let us appreciate the radiant beauty of our collective principles, values, and actions, which illuminate our lives.
Love will guide us, peace has tried us, hope inside us will lead the way on the road from greed to giving. Love will guide us through the hard night. If you cannot sing like angels, if you cannot speak before thousands, you can give from deep within you. You can change the world with your love. Love will guide us, peace has tried us, hope inside us will lead the way on the road from greed to giving. Love will guide us through the hard night.
Closing words are a prayer, a very well-known prayer written by Reinhold Niebuhr. God, give me the grace to accept with serenity the things that cannot be changed, courage to change the things which should be changed, and the wisdom to distinguish the one from the other, living one day at a time, enjoying one moment at a time, accepting hardship as a pathway to peace, taking this world as it is, not as I would have it. Holy One, Spirit of life and love that moves between us, among us, thank you for this hour of worship together. May all those who are gathered in this room and virtually feel love and joy and peace and hope in their hearts. May they feel their inner light and receive the light of others as they go forward. Holy One, may it be so. Amen. And And now, shall we do it again?